So I'll edit this down to just a couple minutes from my site. Fine. So this site's called Affrilachia, Africanizing the Appalachians. That's what the website says.
No. The name of the exhibit is Black Diaspora.
Black Diaspora.
From Africa to Appalachia to Affrilachia. Affrilachia is a term that was coined by Frank X. Walker 20 years ago because he felt that there was no place for him as a black man who was a poet. And Marie Cochran, who's the other curator, has met him and has built on that and started the Affrilachian Artist Project.
Okay.
So the artists that are in this are all black, and it's speaking to the fact that most people's opinion and knowledge of Appalachia is white hillbilly kind of thing, and it totally denies the incredible diversity of this range of mountains, which goes from almost Canada
to
Georgia.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Slocum Galleries has been doing is having shows that speak to diversity, to the diversity of the artists, and push on the canon of the Eurocentric.
So none of the art pieces here are by white people. They're by mixed race and
yeah, they're by mixed race and black.
And so,
but all of them.
So diversity in this situation means the complete removal of everything white, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Right. It's sort of like looking at Black Lives Matter. It doesn't mean that people don't matter. What it means is addressing the situation that for 400 plus years they have not mattered. In the art world, there's a similar thing. Indigenous people, you know, when you go to a museum, what do you see? Primitive art. And so anybody's art that wasn't high art as considered by Greeks, Romans, and Europeans.
But they're the ones that made our culture. Wouldn't you say that it is appropriate for museums to primarily feature things that are part of Western culture by European people?
Not when they're sitting in a land that's full of so many people that are not just of the Western culture.
Well, yes, you realize that the only reason that it is that full of people is because after 1967, then we had the Immigration Act, and this country went from around 95% European to under 70% European in 2 generations. So you can't really say we have a historical diversity in this country.
Actually, part of the Affrilachia Artist Project is uncovering the history that puts somewhat of a lie to that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
That there is this huge, rich diversity of people that contributed to the building of this country, and it was not acknowledged, and it was buried.
How so?
Because history is written by the people who win. Right?
Okay, but black people specifically, they weren't here until they were brought here via slave trade, correct?
Right.
Okay. Well, my question to you would be, why are black people and Africana important to the endemic culture here when they were only brought over here as slave labor? That would be like saying we have an endemic culture of, you know, plowshares or hammers. If they were brought over here by force to only do labor, that seems sort of disingenuous to say that black people specifically had a cultural value of the evolution of the Appalachian area.
It did. Banjo? That's an African instrument.
It is? Okay.
Yes, right.
That's the round one that goes playing, right?
Yes, okay. Right. A lot of the farming techniques that are considered southern are from Africa.
Oh, like what exactly?
Growing peanuts, growing sweet potatoes, many of the ways of cooking are from Africa.
But you told me products, not methods of farming.
Yeah.
I was under the understanding that the Dutch are the ones that introduced all modern farming techniques used in Africa.
No, see, that's the white history that we've been taught in high school.
So history that's specifically for Europeans needs to be broken down and erased.
And no, not erased.
Okay.
Not erased. It needs to be inclusive. It needs to include all of the stories.
Okay.
Right? So what's going on right now is the people whose stories were denied are saying, we have a story. This is a story.
Okay.
This is a story.
All right.
It's a story as much as if you take LGBTQ people who have been denied access to the canon of art, to museums, it's the same thing. Anyone who is less than is now saying, we don't want to take away Rembrandt or Van Gogh or any of those people. Their art is absolutely fabulous.
Okay. We
want to add to it, and we want you to honor our addition.
Okay. So when it comes to things like this question of like something that Frank said right here, He says, I have accepted the responsibility of challenging the notion of a homogeneous, all-white literary landscape in the region. Now, going back historically, I looked at this before I came here because I'm familiar with Marie Cochran. I looked into her from Asheville. It would seem that this narrative here is a very anti-white narrative because the culture and the people of Appalachia, from every source that I can find online, it's 95 to 99% white European immigrants that have made this area for hundreds of years.
Actually,
so I don't see why there needs to be a removal of European history, European art.
No, see, that's where you're going wrong. You're going wrong.
How am I going wrong?
They don't want to remove it. They want to add to it.
Well, then,
but in a curriculum and in a university, to add something, you have to take away what is already there. Okay, all right.
Well, if I could beg the question here, recently Black Lives Matter has been talking about removing what they call white Jesus from churches. How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, it's not my purview.
Okay.
She's an art curator, man.
I'm an art curator. But I would say what you have to do is look at the people of the country that he came from.
Okay.
They're not blue-eyed and blonde hair.
Well, let's talk about people of all colors and types here in this country that, under the banner of BLM, under the banner of diversity, are tearing down statues of all people, no matter who they represented or what they were across the country.
No, actually, they are not. That is not true.
So the hundreds of videos of statues being torn down, things being smashed.
Our Confederate statues that were put up.
So Abraham Lincoln was Confederate. George Washington was Confederate.
He's not been pulled down.
Okay, Black Lives Matter has been painted with chalk and with paint all around the Lincoln Memorial. Okay, all across the country.
Okay, we have to stop this interview right now.
Okay,
right. I want to talk about art.
Okay.
I don't want to argue.
Okay.
All right, and you are taking this in a direction that I do not want to participate in.
Understood.
If you want to talk about the art that's here and with the expression of these artists as in their artist statement, I'll do that.
Okay.
But I'm not going to be part of where you're going.
Then let me ask you about this piece over here with the hanging. This person here, right? According to Jason Flack says that he wants to use a piece like this called, excuse me, he wants to use a piece like this called, I'm missing the title of this one. Which is this one? It's untitled and it's not over here.
Lynching, the lynching.
The lynching, okay. He says that with a piece like this, he wants to bring attention to the Black diaspora and to, what is it? Because of my white, black, and Cherokee people, where I was brought up with on this side of town, the majority of my early work, I want to express the energy and happiness through my work to bring peoples together. So, with something like that, how does a piece like this help any color of person? Could you comment on that?
If we ignore the fact that people were lynched in this country, and up until the mid-20th century, then we're ignoring our history. So what he's saying is that I want this not to be lost as part of the dialogue.
Okay.
So that's why I did this painting. Because for the most part, it's a lot easier to ignore the hard places. And art wants to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that because the comfort level is what is the Overton window, what is allowed and accepted speech around certain delicate issues. Corporations, media, schools, university professors, they speak about the oppression of black folks. But a piece like this does not seem to make that any better. What about the thousands of instances of white people voting to give black people rights? Thousands of people working in harmony to improve black lives, to make black lives better in America. Why is this a better focus than something like that? Than something positive, something showing racial unity instead of something sadistic and cruel and terrible that creates racial division?
You cannot forget that this happened. And there is a lot of whitewashing in history that takes away from that. And what Jason is saying with this painting is, I don't want you to forget. I don't want you to forget that. And Lakeisha says, I don't want you to forget that. That man was...
I'm listening, go ahead.
Okay? We'd rather die than be somebody's captive.
Okay, well...
We have not...
How are black people captive today? They're celebrated in media, news, sports, everything.
I mean, we have in this country the most educated black people in this country, the richest, the safest.
The richest, the most successful black people in all the world. And white people live in harmony with them for the
No,
most
they
part.
don't. 1 in 4 black men are in prison.
That's because black men
No, they
commit
don't.
52% of all violent crime in America.
Statistically, they do not.
That is false, according to all.
So they were
Excuse me.
they were put in there by racist judges or
Stop
racist
that.
juries.
I cannot give permission anymore for this interview. I'm done.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Say that black men are celebrated. Yes, but there is still, according to research and statistics, there's still a higher percentage of black people being killed in the streets. Their sentences in prison are much harsher than other demographics or other cultural groups. So I think it is not fair for us to look at one image and say this is violent just because this is our personal bias. You know?
I didn't say it was violent. I said an image like this does not
It
promote.
doesn't bring us together.
It doesn't promote cohesion and unity.
I think we can only have unity if there is justice. Without justice, there is no peace. People say all lives matter. Only all lives matter if the black lives matter, and the brown people matter, and the Native American people matter, the Asian people matter.
Are you aware?
Nobody has said they don't matter.
Yeah, nobody says that they don't
But
matter.
when there are people, I'm sorry, I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
When you say all lives matter, this is a common thing. I think that people play around with words. Who is all? Who is we? Who are they?
Okay, well, you have to understand, Black Lives Matter was started by violent communist radicals many
No, they are
years
not.
ago.
They say the
And
creators say we
even
are
the phrase that
trained
you
Marxists.
used, no justice, no peace, that is a radical communist chant that was used 100 years ago.
If I may ask you, when they had Germany kill those Jewish people, was that just?
Well, my two grandfathers helped bomb Germans from planes during World War II, and Republicans and Democrats had a policy to kill Germans by bombing them. It was a bipartisan
That
policy.
doesn't make you or give you the excuse to say that that was just. Are you saying that putting them on gas rooms?
No.
is
Okay,
just?
we're getting
I'm
off point
curious.
here.
Yeah, we don't need to
The point is, positivity is the way forward, not negativity and not pointing
I agree.
fingers.
Positivity is a good direction.
This is not positivity. This is pulling at heartstrings and putting wedges between people
How could a
on a
black
racial level.
How
This
can a
is
black student seeing this think good about white people?
May I ask you, when we hang a black man or we put a knee to their head and they die just because of an alleged $20, is that just?
George Floyd died from a drug overdose.
No, he did not.
Okay, so you disagree with both independent coroner reports
No,
and the
I
official police
disagree
report.
with the lie that is being perpetrated. I agree with the correct, because we have all seen this on video.
Well, let's say that it is exactly as you say. How many cities need to burn and how many people need to be raped and murdered to make up for George Floyd? How many? Give me a number.
I am not giving you a number because that is not the right question. If
Okay.
you ask me the right question, I will give you an answer.
Okay? Then why are you being anti-white?
I'm not anti-white at all.
This is
I'm very-
anti-white and it's
No,
in your
it's not.
museum.
Okay. Have you seen pictures of lynching?
Yes, of course.
So who is on the tree? What
Well,
color is the man on the
In
tree?
1/3 of cases, historically, it was a white man.
Let's not get into that because let's not
It
get
is
into
actually,
that.
you will have to read more because that is not accurate. Who are the people looking at the tree? What is the color of their skin?
That doesn't matter. What matters is the way forward. People
It
of
is
all
not.
types
It
have done
matters.
evil in the past.
History matters. If we don't learn from it, we do it again.
This is not the majority of history. This is a tiny window into a very negative, awful sect
Have
of
you
people.
read some alternative readings? Because you
By
do
alternative-
know
okay, give
that
me an example.
history is written by the victors. If you only read the history written by the victors, how do you give justice to the people who have been for centuries
Well, the victors wrote
enslaved?
The victors
Okay.
wrote the history of World War II. So you're saying that this gas chamber stuff is victors? The victors wrote that.
So the Jewish
Yes.
Holocaust is made up
to
too?
demean Germans.
No, we are not demeaning Germans. We are trying to write truth information we are trying to
Okay,
right
so
justice.
since 99% of white people never were responsible for this, the majority of our history was not wanting slavery and not wanting to hurt blacks. That is the vast majority of our history.
Not correct, because the South, the Civil War was started because of the southern states wanting to protect, to have human as property. That is 50% of the state at that point.
That is not 50% of the people. That is corrupt leadership.
That is actually probably more than 50%, because if you will look at the population, they have more population, except they don't
you think
count
more than
the
50%?
black people
You think
as humans.
So you think more than 50%?
I happen to be a native of the state of Virginia, and before the Civil War, the abolition of slavery came within 3 votes in the legislature of Virginia, proving that the majority of the common people probably had no interest in it.
And also the majority of Southerners and the majority of Southern whites did not like slavery because it took their work away. It was that was cheap labor to replace them by the rich, wealthy elite. Most white people did not ever want this to happen.
Do you think the white people at that time, I'm not saying right now, because I am married to a white person. If I hate white people, why would I marry
Well, thank God for that.
And if I married a black person, I would be very much blessed as well, I'm sure.
Okay. So,
because he is equally important as any white man. Whatever the color of a skin of a person, we are all equal.
Okay, well, if you believe that, then why do you support this?
Why does your university offer race-based scholarships and race-based affirmative action if we're all equal?
Exactly.
We are equal, and the university is doing the right way to correct the systemic racism that has been happening.
So you believe it's...
Hi, Marie. I appreciate you coming over.
So you're attacking her, and this is not appropriate, and you really should just leave. Because, yeah, I think that's probably the best thing that you should do.
I actually...
And why is that? Tell me why that's the best thing for me to do. Tell me, in your words.
They will...
That's what I thought.
Well, you know what? Since you have a video of this, I would love to have...
Universities used to be about challenging ideas. Now when I challenge an idea, I get told that I'm wrong about